Today for Devotions with Daniella, we are reading from the first book of Daniella about growing up in the children of God and then going into the cult of the U.S. Army. And today we are at part 3, the Army. The last sentence was, I was sure I knew what I was getting into, what I was signing my life over to, and how it would play out. I was wrong. Part 3, the Army. Chapter 18, Drink the Kool-Aid. Fort Jackson, South Carolina, June 2009. I'm running down a narrow path, pushing jungle foliage out of my eyes, trying hard not to trip over my own feet. Must get out. They're coming for us. They are closing in, but I can't make myself move fast enough. I'm starving, cold. We ran out of food a long time ago. We are a blur of continual movement. They'll never stop hunting us. Maybe it's easier to let them catch me. At least then it will be over. I hear the heavy stomps of boots behind me. The choice has been made. I stop running. 2 hands grab my arms and spin me around. I can't see my friends anywhere. I pray they got away. The cold metal barrel of a gun shoves into my ribs. I glance down and am surprised at how much it looks like a toy. I know what comes next. Isolation, beatings, torture, rape. It's time to suffer. I've prepared for this my whole life. So why do I still feel so scared? I won't escape. They will kill me soon. I know this fact the way I know the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. I've been preparing for this moment my whole life. I only need to stay true to my faith. The Antichrist and his minions fear us. They hate our conviction, but God is on our side. It is my destiny to become a martyr for God. It is time to make my final stand, to take some of them with me as I show his awesome power. I will be lucky if I am murdered for my faith today. Everyone will know I am the chosen one. Maybe I am heaven's girl, after all. Through paper-thin eyelids, I see the sharp beam of a flashlight. Suddenly awake, I hear the voice yelling, "Reveille!" My mind flails around as I scramble to my feet, feeling along the edge of my hard, thin bunk to find my flashlight, stashed where I'd staged it the night before. Am I in the children's dorms? Where's my flea bag? Is this a drill or the real thing? My hands find my assault rifle, safely in place at the foot of my bed. No, this is a different bunkhouse. This is a different kind of waking before dawn and quick dressing in the dark. A different surge of adrenaline and fear. Today we would run through woods so black I couldn't tell the day from the night, punctuated by the eerie bobbing of little red forehead flashlights. Rather than trying to evade the Antichrist's soldiers, we'd jump over logs and try to avoid capture by our own drill sergeants. Instead of the Grecian tunics and strappy sandals of my dreams and the illustrated instructions I'd memorized from my youth, I'd march in my new tan boots, still painfully not broken in, wearing army fatigues much too big for my hungry 100-pound frame. The smell of the recruits beside me was an acrid combination of fear and bravado. It's not that we wanted to die, but we weren't against the idea either. If it came to it, we'd die willingly enough, throwing ourselves in front of bullets for our buddies, on top of live grenades for our country, sacrificing ourselves for patriotism and honor, martyrs for our cause, for the words and ideals shouted at us each day. At least, that's what we were here to learn, I knew, as we were programmed to live and breathe Army. This was my new life, for better or worse, in U.S. Army basic training. And I thought that my triggering moments of my whole childhood and the beginning of my breakdown was when I first deployed to Afghanistan and found myself on a large commune again, surrounded by walls that I couldn't leave with a bunch of men that were dangerous to me. But my editor is the one that noticed it here. She's like, no, you're having flashbacks in basic training, right? As soon as I was back in that kind of environment, I immediately was like, oh, this is a cult, right? Clocked it super hard. The yelling broke through the fuzz in my head. Time to get in line, to march into the dark woods, to start training. If there's one thing that characterizes basic training, it's the yelling. It's a tool to teach discipline, to shock the system, something to make you feel fear and then to harden you to that fear. If you can't handle a little yelling, how will you yourself when the bullets come flying your way. It reminds us we are owned 100% by the drill sergeants, by the Army, by the United States of America, by the Commander-in-Chief. Unquestioning obedience was demanded. No walking, no silence, no quiet reflection, no time to think for yourself. And always, always with a battle buddy. It felt like home. For 9 weeks, we ran everywhere, accompanied by yelling and orders. No books, TV, news, games, phones, or contact with the outside world. I scoffed out loud when our drill sergeant told us that Michael Jackson had died, sure that it was yet another misdirection to keep us unbalanced. With no way to verify anything for weeks at a time, all we could do was believe what they told us. My body and mind remembered the feeling and fell into the routine with a strange kind of ease. I knew how to operate in a world like this, how to keep breathing when I was both dependent and trapped. I was born a soldier. Before arriving at Fort Jackson, South Carolina, I'd never had a flashback. I'd never even thought of my childhood as traumatic. Abnormal, yes. Strange, for sure, but it was all I'd known. Bad, painful stuff had happened to me, but that was just me, right? Not the family. Pretty much every cult kid I've ever met has told themselves the same story. Sure, my childhood wasn't ordinary, but in the end, we all turned out fine. I even thought I believed it. But I started to pay the price for that denial in basic training when the flashbacks started, the nightmares. I woke up in a cold sweat almost every morning from war dreams, abuse dreams, dreams where I was back under the total control of others. I'd zone out in line and suddenly feel 6 years old again, terrified and insecure in every movement, waiting for punishment. I lived in constant fear that I'd call a drill sergeant uncle and never be able to explain why. Still, basic training felt like a life I understood. Standing in line, adults yelling for no reason, prescribing my wardrobe, my actions, my words, my thoughts, even my underwear, because cults always want to control your underwear. Getting ready once again for my own death, any minute, once the fighting started. At least this time, I was here for a purpose. I had chosen this path myself, using reason and logic, and I was going to see it through. Sure, they could break me down physically. They could even influence my mind, but they'd never touch my soul. That was already hidden away as its own secret, in the place I had carved out when I was a young child, the shelter I could go to whenever things got too tough. After surviving this way for almost 16 years, 9 weeks was nothing. Melting in the heat of a South Carolina summer, the first days of basic training, called reception, were designed chaos. Drill sergeants never told us what a formation was, but they expected us to stand in them for hours each day. A block of soldiers in brand new uniforms at the position of attention, staring straight ahead, waiting. They yelled and yelled while we fumbled over ourselves, new boots in a tangle, as we figured out commands as they were being shouted, as we were herded into one room for paperwork, the next for shots, and then to be smoked, forced to do push-ups and other hard exercises until we reached muscle failure. We slept in bays on orderly rows of bunk beds in concrete buildings, which I'm sure felt like prison to the other girls. To me, it was familiar, almost comforting. The junior ROTC kids, fresh from high school, became the natural leaders. They understood how to march and hold a weapon in the proper position during an inspection. Never knowing what actions would push each drill sergeant over the edge means we lived in constant fear of messing up, of stepping out of line, of performing another wrong move. Fear was a constant companion, undefined and lurking on the edges, whispering in my ear that things would blow up any second, that I would lose control of everything I'd struggled to gain, that I was nothing but a 6-year-old girl in a grown-up body. Check out Uncultured, my story. You can get signed copies attached here or listen to me read it to you on Spotify Premium or anywhere else you get your audiobooks.